An area of confusion for a lot of people is they believe that a dog should never go in front of them when you're out in the countryside like this, or on a walk anyway. The dog should either go behind them or by the side of them. That's actually not correct, and I'll explain why. In their world, in a canine world, yes, the leaders are the ones who initiate the hunt. They start it. So if you collect up your leads and your dogs are gathered around you quite nicely, and then you pop them on lead and you go out the door and they follow you out and you walk a distance that suits you. Of course, if you're in town, then you keep them on lead. But, you know, just until you get to a safe place, then you decide the moment of release. And when you do that, it's quite natural for them to go ahead of you. Now, if you think they've gone too far, then all you've got to do is turn and go the other way. Now, this is making them think for themselves. They've got to decide to come back to the leader. Now, a lot of people say, but my dogs won't come back to me. That's because as yet you're not the leader of their choosing. But you can do that with this process. That's the joy of it. So, for them to go ahead of you is quite natural. Why? And as you see, they're all back. There's no problem. The reason for that is, living free is the lead male who starts the hunt. He will initiate it. Don't ask me how. I've never seen his method, but they know. And then they all set out on the hunt. They're sniffing the air, they're trying to locate their food source, and that's all fine. Now, when they do find that food source, whether it be elk or antelope or Thompson's gazelle, whatever it is, wherever part of the world they're in, then it is the leader who will start the pursuit to get the prey on the move. The reason they want them on the move is because the weaker animals will stay at the back. Well, they work their way to the back. I mean, they're weaker, so they can't keep up with the rest of the herd. But that doesn't happen immediately. That takes a little time for the pack to establish. And because, you know, it takes time to wear them down, as it were. Now, that's the role of the youngsters, because they're lighter. They're actually lighter in body weight than the big males. Also the females, especially they're up to about 3 years of age. And before we think, well, you know, why isn't he doing it all? How many of us have come home and turned to one of the kids and said, oh, run upstairs and get something for me, save my old legs? It's said all the time. You're not old, it's not that, but, you know, youngsters are more enthusiastic. And so nature takes that enthusiasm and works with it, and that's what you can do too. So as you can see, the dogs are going ahead of me, and that's okay. They keep checking back to where I am. I don't keep calling them. That's another thing. Why should I? They know if I want them, I will call them, and that's good for us. They're doing what dogs do, love to sniff around and have a great time. So if your dogs go ahead of you, that is perfectly fine, as long as if you call them, they will come back, because if you're the leader of their choosing, then they're going to want to cooperate with you in a moment's notice. And I'll show you what I mean. Shamok, Kamats, come on, loves. Come on, then. Good girl. Come on, come with me. Good dogs. You see how they want to cooperate, which makes life very, very easy. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, then. Good play. Good play. That's it. And you'll also notice, if you've got younger dogs and older dogs, there we have Zach, he's 2, and his mum there is 5. And yet the old lady, who's 11, Grandma, I mean, don't you kid yourself, she can keep going, but she kind of do this poddling action, which is really energy conservation, and that's what nature does too. So you'll see that a younger one will cover 3 or 4 times the ground of a more mature animal. That's sense. In the real world for canines, when the pack do locate their prey, they've got them on the move, the younger ones have done the major pursuit, keeping the prey on the move. When they've found the weaker ones, and then the hunt becomes very, very serious, and they theme in on them. It's usually the individuals that are more the greyhounds of the packs that do that, and by the time they've weakened that animal and hung on, the big males with all this power and strength and body weight come along to kind of finish the job. And of course, so therefore they're eating first as well, if they choose. So, you know, when people say, oh, well, a dog must never go in front of you, ask them why they're saying that. And then you can explain to them the real world for the canine. And it doesn't take much research on your behalf to watch hunts of canines, whether it be wolves, African wild dogs. Theirs is slightly different, but that's environmental. down dogs, it doesn't really matter. Anything that hunts in that fashion, you will find that leaders do leave a lot of the work to the younger guys. Now again, if you think they've gone too far from you, don't panic. I mean, I'm going to be quiet here because they're already catching up. You know, it's their job to keep with me. And if you keep calling them, they haven't got to concentrate like that. They haven't got to listen out for you. And they really should be, if they've chosen a new leader. So, you know, don't worry about them. They will find you, because nature says, go with the leader, stay with the leader. So, I hope that's helped you understand why it is perfectly fine and perfectly natural. That's the important thing, natural, for your dog to go ahead of you without it causing you or them any distress whatsoever.